My question is to the Minister of Labour. Is she currently considering any changes to employment law that were not included in the changes announced at the National Party conference? If so, what are they?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Pansy Wong.
Mr. Speaker, despite the fact that a hard-working minister is attending to the earthquake devastation in her patch, some issues are being considered to improve the operation of New Zealand's employment laws. Specifically, there are a number of issues under consideration,
Point of order,
including but not limited to...
Order, a point of order.
I apologise to the member, but I took a second to get up because I was slightly confused. I think the member is answering on behalf of the Minister of Labour, and I don't think she can get up and say, despite the Minister is hard-working in Christchurch. I mean, that is something that just couldn't possibly be part of what she's saying. No Minister would say that about himself.
She's just showing off.
No order. I'm on my feet. I listened carefully. The Minister was reasonably brief in the bit that was out of order, and actually she was going on to answer the question, I think, remarkably well. And I thought it would behove the member, I think, to listen while a useful answer is on its way. And I congratulate the Minister but at least the first part was mercifully brief. But the Minister is answering the question. The Honourable Pansy Wong.
Mr. Speaker, would you like me to take it from the start?
No. I'd like the Minister to pick up from where she left off.
Mr. Speaker, specifically, there are a number of issues under consideration, including but not limited to the review of Part 6A of the Employment Relations Act, a review of workplace flexibility laws, and changes to collective bargaining.
Darien Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, is she considering any of the following options mentioned in her July 2010 Cabinet paper entitled Proposals to Amend the Employment Relations Act 2000 and Related Work, which include contracting out of personal grievance provisions, reviewing passing on provisions, reviewing temporary and fixed-term contracts, and the reintroduction of the separate youth minimum wage?
The Honourable Pansy Wong.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, being a very thoughtful and responsible Minister, I would take time, and there's lots on my plate, but all those issues will take its time to be considered, and I would balance very well the overall rights between employees and employer for the benefit of economic growth in New Zealand.
Darien Fenton.
To the Minister, does the option of contracting out of personal grievance provisions mentioned in her Cabinet paper mean that employers could potentially be able to set different personal grievance terms for different employees? And if so, will she rule out such change?
Mr. Speaker, as being a very responsible and thoughtful Minister, I would take all consideration, but it will be a very fair balance between all employees and employer for the benefit of economic growth.
Darien Fenton.
To the Minister, given that she has previously ruled it out, will she now assure the House that the reintroduction of a separate youth minimum wage, as mentioned in her Cabinet paper, July 2010, is not an option that this government will ever consider?
The Honourable Pansy Wong.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, being a responsible and democratic Minister, we do not rule out anything without due consideration that will take into account of all issues, the benefit of employees and employer equally.
Supplementary.
Darien Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is she refusing to rule out these options because the government is actually considering making some of these changes? Or has she just learnt from recent experience that any decision she makes may be overruled by Act anyway, as was her recommendation to limit the 90-day trial extension to workplaces of less than 50 employees?
The Honourable Pansy Wong.
Mr. Speaker, all decisions made by this government is collective decision, unlike the previous Labour government dictated by only the Prime Minister.
Order. Question number 12, Katrina Shanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.